Thank you all for joining us for Tenant Thursdays. I'm Rashanah Baldwin, your guest host for this evening. Tenant Thursdays is brought to you by Rentervention. Rentervention is a free service created by Lawyers Trust of Illinois and Lawyers Committee for Better Housing that helps Chicago renters who are facing troubles with repairs, evictions, and security deposits. I am so excited to be joined by a Rentervention user. Her name is Don Washington, a Rogers Park resident, as well as Morgan Schumann. She's a lawyer from Lawyers Committee for Better Housing. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you, Rashanah.
Don, I want to start with you. How are you doing? You are a recent user who came across Rentervention to help you with your troubles that you were facing at your apartment in Rogers Park. Can you tell us your story so we can come to better understand how you were able to get out of your situation?
Sure. I moved into an apartment in Rogers Park in May. May 1 was my move-in date. And I had vetted it before. My mother went with me. It was a good building. It was one of the cleaner buildings that we had seen that day. And I had been looking for weeks and months, actually a month and a few weeks. And the building looked good and clean. And the unit that we saw was completely updated. Everything was new inside. And so I went ahead and moved in. And about a month later, I woke up to a squeaking noise, and I thought it was a bird. So I went back to sleep. It was 6 a.m, and I listened again, and the squeak came again, and it sounded like a mouse. And I just froze in my bed. My bed was on the floor at the time because I didn't have a frame yet. That order was backed up because of COVID. So I was on the floor and I saw a mouse and I was shook. I ran into the living room and stayed there until I could, get on the laptop and let the landlords know that someone needs to come out here. And someone came out right away. And they brought an exterminator. They laid traps, and the exterminators even told the property manager to seal the areas in my bedroom, and they did that same day. So I thought we were all good. And then maybe 3 weeks later, my son saw a roach in the bathroom, and immediately I knew that wasn't going to be sustainable for me, because here we are in COVID. I'm working from home. I'm afraid of roaches.
Right. And your peace of mind is disrupted.
I'm sorry, say that. Yes,
your
exactly.
Peace of mind is disrupted. Yeah,
exactly. A roach means a lot of things to me. And I mean, you see one, that usually means to me there are many others. And so I immediately knew this is going to be a problem for me. I'm not going to be able to rest. So again, I've reached out. They sent somebody out. They sent the exterminators out. They treated the area. One of the exterminators told me the first time, he was like, roaches come in boxes, when you bring packages home. And I'm just looking at him like.
So he insinuated that you possibly brought the roach into your home.
I don't know exactly what he was saying. I think he was saying it happened. I think he was saying it happens. And I was just like, okay. And then he said, a problem. He asked me how many roaches I saw. I said 1. And he said, a problem is 10. And if you see 10, that's a problem. And I was like, if I see 10 roaches anywhere, you will not see me again, ever. You just won't see me.
Right.
So I played the game. I let him treat, and just kind of shut my mind off and was like, wishful thinking and just kind of move forward. And it happened again 2 weeks later. I saw one. So they were all contained to my bathroom. So the exterminator, the property manager, and I would do this dance like every 2 weeks. When I saw a roach, they'll bring out somebody. And that we were doing a dance. And
at what point did you say enough is enough? How long did this go on? Was it a month? Was it a couple weeks? At what point did you say, you know what? How long was it before you like, okay?
I think it was a month, because at some point, I took matters into my own hands, and I said, because I was just tired, I was exhausted, I wasn't getting any sleep, I was scared to go to my bathroom because of what I would see. So I don't think it was as long as a month, because I can't see myself doing that long. Maybe it was 3 hard weeks. And then I bought some spray that the exterminators recommended to just for peace of mind. I started looking on Google and seeing that this property management company they were getting bad reviews, and people were making the same complaint. And one of the users, the Google reviewers, said that they bought some spray and it contained the problem. So I bought some spray and I sprayed my bathroom. Next thing I know, they moved from the bathroom to my kitchen. And
Wow.
when I saw it in my kitchen, I was done. That must have been 3 weeks.
That was the final straw, is when now these rodents are in the food area. So how did you come across, how did you then get in contact with Rentervention? How did you find out about Rentervention?
So I had saw a second mouse. There was another mouse that came along in front of me. And I'm kind of walking through this. And I remember going to the property manager myself and saying, I want out of my lease. And they wanted to dance and, send exterminators out again. I think that night I spoke to my friend. Maybe a day later, I spoke to my friend. And she had just spoken to someone who had, I'm sorry, something's popping on my screen. She had just spoken to someone who had a similar experience as mine. And after we talked, she texted me the links to Lawyers Committee for Better Housing. She sent me that link, and she sent me another link, and I clicked on that link and I saw Rentervention. That's when I saw the Rennie, and I went to the virtual
robot.
Yes, that's when I saw it. And I mean, it was like right before bed. I filled out the paperwork. The robot it was really easy and comforting. Although
so when the robot calmed all your fears, you filled out the information, and then what happened next after you talked to Rennie the robot?
So he walked me through, and then I went to bed. And then the next day I was working. I really didn't expect to hear from someone the next day. And the next day I got a call from Morgan.
You got a call from Morgan. Amazing. And from there, she was able to walk you through the necessary steps to what?
Morgan advised me on every single step that I should take she asked me some questions, and I basically told her I was leaving anyway. And she told me exactly what I needed to do if I was leaving. And if I didn't want to be held responsible for breaking my lease. So if you want me to tell you what she told me, I can.
I'm gonna let her, jump in and tell us. But if you could give me a sentence or so, what after you talked to Morgan, what happened? What was the final resolve of this interesting yet sad story?
After I spoke to her, I did everything that she told me to do, step by step. I moved out. It had to be a week later. I scheduled my movers. I moved out, packed up my things, and moved out a week later. And now I'm out.
So it was a guided process pretty much that she gave you of what to do, what to say, how to communicate with them. Did they respond at all when you were following the steps of what she told you, which was what to, document everything? And did, with everything Morgan told you to do, was there any response? What was a couple steps that she did, specifically instruct you to do that most people are not aware of? Your story is really interesting, but most people are not aware of what to do in situations like this or how to go about breaking the lease.
Well, I had talked to I had reached out to two other lawyers before Morgan and I got in touch with one another. The first lawyer told me to give notice that I wanted to get out. And I had done that. I had told them, you have 14 days. The ordinance says that you have 14 days to make this right. And if you don't, I'm out. So I had done that already. By the time, and then another lawyer just told me I don't have a case because if you don't see 30 mice or hundreds of roaches, then you just have to deal with it because it's city living. So Morgan, when I talked to Morgan, she told me, okay, we're still within. It was, I think, that Saturday, within the week that we were talking, that was going to be the 14 days when it was up. And so she told me to honor that, send them pictures of the roach activity, send them all the documents, all the correspondence, and I did that. She told me exactly what to say in my letter to them. She told me to send it via certified letter and to use the portal. There's a residence portal to use.
Right. So you did all those steps, you followed through, and you were out of there. Morgan, I want to ask you, you are an attorney with the Lawyers Committee for Better Housing. Once people sign up, go on to Rentervention, talk to Rennie the robot, do they instantly get the call right away?
We do try to get back to people as quickly as we can. And so the way that Rentervention is kind of set up is that first interaction that Dawn was describing, where she was able to go and chat with Rennie. Dawn, hopefully you felt like you were able to get a little bit of information from Rennie or some snippets about what you might want to do or keep in mind before it pushed you into the virtual clinic. So the idea, as much as possible, is that tenants can get a little bit of information from chatting with Rennie. And then for most tenants, for most issues, they're going to be able to come into the virtual clinic where they can hopefully get a call from either myself or another volunteer attorney or intern to kind of, so that we can ask questions. I can't give good advice until I know what the situation is. And so Dawn and I were able to have that conversation about what was going on and what steps she had already taken.
So
she was
once
ahead
a user logs onto the website, talks to Rennie the robot, how are they introduced into the virtual clinic and who can access it?
Sure. So the clinic is set up so we want to prioritize tenants that we will likely be able to help. So not everybody that comes to Rentervention is going to be able to get to the virtual clinic because there are some things that is not what LCBH or Lawyers Committee for Better Housing does. So some tenants might get a referral to another legal aid organization or another entity that might be a better fit to help them out, or might be able just to get some brief information. But then some tenants are going to get basically an invitation to come into the clinic. And we do send out kind of a questionnaire after the fact so that we can gather a little bit more information. So when we call, we've got some of the details and we're not having to ask, 110 questions to learn what's going on. So we send over, an invitation to join the clinic, and along with that, a statement of understanding that is basically an agreement with the tenant that says that Rentervention is offering to provide them with some brief legal assistance and information, and that the tenant kind of is understanding that we're going to do our best to help them, but that we can't guarantee that we're going to be successful. So we do that, get them into the clinic, and then hopefully, within a couple of days is what we aim for, to be able to contact the client and get them what they need.
And from there, how long are you all with the client dealing with their, helping them through their situation? Like I heard you just say it is like some of the basic, legal services. For clarity, do you all stay with them? Are you in court with them? Do you hand them off to actually another attorney once it becomes a bigger dance, if you will?
Yeah, it depends. And a lot of things, like anything, the sooner that you can catch something and work out a resolution, often the smoother the outcome is going to be. So, for example, when I was working with John, I think we just had the one phone call. Was that right? And it was able to solve your problem with just that one phone call. And so the idea, as much as possible, is that we like to be able to provide that brief legal assistance so that we can help as many clients as possible, while still making sure that we're, getting people the right information. But we do have tenants that come to the virtual clinic with situations that are going to require more help. So, for example, we've got tenants that come through that are facing an eviction case, and maybe the landlord already filed something in court. Those are ones that, in addition to offering, some brief advice about the eviction process, we might be able to look at that and consider that case for more full representation, and see if we can pair that person up with, an attorney that might be able to represent them through the course of the entire case. So that would be an example of a longer term engagement, and that's not guaranteed, but it's certainly something that we strive to at least see if we can help tenants with.
That's actually awesome. And I think that, like you said, that first initial contact is very important, so they won't hopefully end up in the bigger situation in the long term. Another question that I wanted to ask, and maybe other people probably want to know as well, how often are you all seeing cases similar to Dawn's with Rentervention?
Yeah, there are a lot of tenants in the city of Chicago that are dealing with conditions, and there's a lot of landlords that are neglecting their properties and thinking that tenants, don't know how to exercise their rights, and they don't know how to force the landlord to make repairs or get out of their lease, if it's not getting done. And Chicago law really does provide a lot of good protections for tenants. There is the Chicago Residential Landlord Tenant Ordinance, and it provides protections that lets people like Dawn get out of their lease, and it lets them demand repairs and potentially withhold a portion of rent if they feel like they need to stay in the apartment, but they need the conditions addressed. And the thing about it, though, is that there are specific processes that tenants have to follow. You have to send a 14-day letter if you're going to withhold some rent, or you have to send a 14-day letter if you're going to terminate your lease. And so Rentervention tries to intervene before a tenant might move out without giving the right notice, or start withholding rent without giving the right notice, and then find themselves, facing a 5-day notice for not paying rent. So we try to jump in and help tenants to understand how they can make the law work for them from the get-go. And that, helps a lot.
And I want to remind people who are watching, you can go to rentervention.com and you'll be greeted by Rennie the robot, who will say hi, or you could text 866-7-RENTER. Another question, Morgan, that I want to ask, is this considered like a constructive eviction on Dawn's part, and will she face any type of backlash from her previous landlord? Because Dawn, you said they haven't responded or acknowledged you, right?
Right. I haven't heard from them at all.
Yeah. So constructive eviction is kind of a very legal term, for something. So I don't want to categorize like one particular thing as constructive eviction, but certainly landlords are not permitted to retaliate against tenants for exercising any of their legal rights under the Chicago Residential Landlord Tenant Ordinance that we were just talking about. And so, if Dawn chose to say, and I don't even remember this, if this is the case but, if Dawn had chosen to contact the Department of Buildings in the city of Chicago and report the landlord through that, it would be illegal for a landlord to retaliate. It would be illegal for a landlord to retaliate for a client that contacts a legal aid attorney to understand what their rights are. So tenants can actually get themselves some protection from retaliation by reaching out in doing some of those things, because it is considered protected conduct. And so that retaliation claim can be basically a separate thing from any other claims that the tenant might have about the conditions or habitability in the apartment.
And you all have about 30 attorneys working there with you all at Rentervention, and it's free and it's 24 hours.
We have a lot of attorneys, yeah, and it's a really good mix. I'm one of the attorneys that's specifically staffing the project. We bring in other attorneys that are staff attorneys with Lawyers Committee for Better Housing. And we also work with some of the local law schools, and we have some law student interns that also help us do intakes and pair up many of our cases with volunteer attorneys, with pro bono partners from a lot of the bigger firms, and even some smaller firms and individual volunteer attorneys that choose to help us out. So each case we try to pair up with a volunteer or a staff member that can provide the service that the tenant needs.
Awesome, awesome. And I know Dawn has expressed that she was grateful early on. Dawn, how are you feeling, and would you recommend Rentervention to anyone else?
I am deeply grateful. I was very, it was a very tough situation for me. And I had a lot going on. And of course, the climate that we're in, it's just been stressful. So I'm deeply grateful to Morgan that she was able to talk to me about my rights. And I told her on the phone that day that if I can do anything to publicize this service, I will, for as long as I live. For as long as I live.
Right, yeah, absolutely. I think that's very important to spread the word. Many tenants out here in Chicago are unaware of the free services that Rentervention is providing, and what it seems like to you that it's been quality service. And like you said, it took one phone call and you were already in the right direction. Kudos to you and your situation. I'm glad it worked out for the better.
Me too. Me too. Thanks again, Morgan. I really appreciate your help.
Sure thing. It looks like my video cut out, so I'm so sorry. But I'm really glad we were able to help you, and thank you, Dawn, for the kind words and for joining us today and promoting our intervention. It really does help.
And then a number again, if you are interested, definitely everyone's interested in contacting Rentervention for someone who may be in need or in need yourself, you can contact 866-7-RENTER, RENTER, Renter, 866-7-RENTER, Rentervention.com. You guys speak to someone and they will be able to assist you. Is that correct, Morgan?
Yep.
And again, Rentervention is 24 hours. You're greeted by Rennie the Robot once you go into Rentervention.com. They can help you out the same way they help Dawn out. I want to say thank you all for joining us today for Tenant Thursdays with Rentervention. Be sure to go to Rentervention.com. I'm Rashanah Baldwin, your guest host. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Morgan.
Thank you, Rashanah.
You're welcome.